Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I had forgotten that I wanted to film making truffles and I got started chopping chocolate and completely forgot to turn the camera on. So here I have some dark chocolate and some milk chocolate already chopped into little chunks. These are 3.5 ounce packages or bars, and so I've used 2 packages of the milk chocolate plus 2 rows of squares from a third package. And the same for this dark chocolate here. I used 2 bars plus about a third of the third bar. So if you have a kitchen scale, what you're looking for is a half a pound of good dark chocolate, and I use the 70% cocoa of the Lindt brand, and a half a pound of milk chocolate, and I used Cadbury. I am putting a cup of heavy cream, measuring it out and putting it into a small saucepan that I will bring to a boil and then take off of the heat. I had to open a new container of heavy cream. Probably would have been okay with what I had, but I wanted it to be the full cup. So now I am just pouring the very hot cream over the cut up chocolate, and the hot cream will melt the chocolate. I'm just stirring it. This is a ganache, or will be a ganache. I'm adding a half of a teaspoon of vanilla to it. The recipe calls for other flavorings, but I did not add them. This is a recipe from Ina Garten, and she adds orange liqueur and also some brewed coffee to her truffle recipe. And so in the description box, I will write the recipe as Ina Garten has it, and then I'll also write the recipe as to what I did here today and the tweaks that I made for our family's likes and dislikes. You just need to slowly mix this well to incorporate all that cream and chocolate together. Once it is all mixed up, I am going to leave it on the counter for a few minutes, and then after that I am going to cover it with plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator. And this ends up going for about almost a full 24 hours just because I was doing other things. But I think that if you did it overnight or for at least 6 hours, I think that that would be enough time to help it solidify. If it doesn't become firm, then you won't be able to scoop it out and roll it into balls. After they were done, there were a few chunks of chocolate in this mixture, but I kind of liked it. It gave it a good little crunch and good texture. Here it is the next day after it's been in the refrigerator for almost a full 24 hours. And I'm just taking a teaspoon and shaping chunks of it into balls. And then I will put those back into the refrigerator before I dip them in chocolate. In the original truffle recipe, it calls to roll them in either cocoa powder or powdered sugar. But we're not crazy about the straight cocoa powder. And if you roll them in powdered sugar, the sugar liquefies after a while and they don't look pretty anymore. So I decided to dip them into chocolate, milk chocolate this time, and give that a try. And I was happy with the results of this. And I forgot to count how many pieces of candy this made. It coated the bottom of this 8x8 Tupperware that I have, plus a few on a second row. So at least 20, maybe 30. We've eaten half of them, so I can't count them. And into the refrigerator this goes until I can melt the chocolate and get that ready. Every time I go to purchase these Ghirardelli melting wafers, they are either out of milk chocolate or they don't carry it. So what I've been doing, and it works really well, is to buy a bag of white chocolate and a bag of dark chocolate wafers, and then I combine them half and half. And I feel like it makes a really tasty milk chocolate coating. So there's nothing scientific about this, or there's nothing that's accurate in the measurements. I just take some of the white chocolate and pour it in, and some of the dark chocolate and pour it in. And then I melt it according to the instructions on the packages, which is 30 seconds at half power in the microwave, and then let it rest, and then 15-second on half power intervals. And I probably did about 2 or 3 of those. And so I'll take it out after a couple of times and stir it to see if it's starting to melt. And when there are about 4 or 5 half wafers left, then I will just stir it and keep stirring it until everything is melted. And that's the way that you temper chocolate when you're melting it in the microwave. So here you can see it looks like a hot mess. And I even added a little bit more white chocolate. I don't know why, but I felt it needed it. And so back in the microwave it goes, and then I am stirring it and decide that it needs to go back in. And now stirring it to get those last pieces melted. And now my chocolate is ready to dip the truffles in. I have a baking sheet with some parchment paper on it, and so I'm ready to go. These Ghirardelli chocolate melting wafers are a bit pricey, but I like the way they work. But you can use any melting or coating chocolate if you'd like for this. I'm just dropping the truffles one at a time into the melted chocolate, and I've got a clean fork that I am taking them out with and draining the chocolate as best as I can, and then putting the truffle onto the parchment paper to harden up. So I am just dipping all of these truffles into the chocolate. I did have to melt a little bit more chocolate at the end, but I didn't show that. The chocolate sets up really quickly on these, and I put them back into that Tupperware container or airtight container and store them in the refrigerator. I've been storing them in the refrigerator because if I left them out on my counter, they would be gone in about 5 minutes. But I don't think my family even knows where they're at in the refrigerator, so I'm good for now at least, until they figure it out. You may need to get yourself a Brussels sprouts bag or a lima bean bag or a broccoli bag, whatever kind of vegetable your family hates, and wash it out, take the vegetables out, wash it out, and store these in some kind of vegetable bag so that you have them for when you need them. So here I am putting more chocolate in to melt. I don't know why these do this on the bottom. Maybe because the chocolate's thinner on the bottom. But the same thing happened with my cherry chocolates as well. So here you have chocolate covered truffles. These are a deep milk chocolate flavor. They're very creamy and delicious. And I cut one in half so that you could see what it looked like inside. If you wanted to make a more milk chocolate, then just use more of the Cadbury bars and less of the dark cocoa, the dark 70% chocolate. These are truly delicious, and so far, after a day or two, they have stored really well in the refrigerator in that airtight container. And as you can see, they're not as hard as you might think they would be to make. Great for Christmas or Valentine's Day or any special occasion. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a Merry Christmas. Goodbye.